Welcome to the Simplified Stamper. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. Hey everybody, thanks for joining me today. I have a really fun, adventurous card for you today. I'm going to it's just so fun, this music page. Saw this in a vision of several weeks ago and had to kind of acquire everything to make this card. I've been wanting to do Bible journaling, but I do it, and I've done it a few times, but I just don't sit down long enough to do that. I love cards, so I wanted to somehow bridge the two together. So this is my attempt at doing that. This piece of paper is actually, I found someone on our neighborhood had stuff at the curb for free, and this is an old page from a photo album, and it's really thick paper. I just wanted to distress it some, and you'll see that I took the I think it's soft suede, something like that. It's a Stampin' Up! Stamp pad. Anyway, brown. And I'm just taking my brown ink and I'm using a couple of different mediums a couple of different rags and paper and everything to kind of distress it a little bit and make it look a little more dirty. It was already pretty yellowed. I did cut it with my deckle edge scissors, thinking that I would just like that deckle edge, but then I did end up, you'll see that I ended up just tearing the edges. I have this obsession with torn paper. So you'll see here, I went ahead and crunched it up into a ball, and it's really thick. You'll see I've cut it off screen. That's because I'm spraying it with water, and I don't want to get water all over everything at my desk. And so I sprayed it with my spray bottle of water, and I'm just trying to crunch it up and give it a more distressed look. And I mean, I even ended up tearing it in the process, which I didn't mind at all whatsoever. I think I ended up actually spraying it with more water. I even put it in this rag. I have like 3 different rags that I keep at my desk, and I just, within the rag, squeezed it into a ball so that I could get a little more control after it was slightly more wet. And you'll see I finally got it pretty small, and it gives it this worn look. It has all these different creases in it, and after I laid it out, I realized that I just didn't want the edge straight, so I did end up tearing the paper. I think I needed to make it smaller to go in the front of the card anyway. See, as I had it too wide. So I tried to trim it down, and then I just ended up not liking that deckle edge. This is really the raw process of doing cards for me. You think they're going to come out one way, or you want to do it one thing, and then you realize it just needs to be slightly different. So you'll see when I go to the next clip, I think it just shows that it's torn. So there it is. I loved that so much better. I wet it some more, tore it up. Now I've got this piece of music that was taken out of a hymnal. I had been dreaming of doing music pages on cards for quite a few months actually, but I needed to find a hymnal, and I had not. And I actually went out there and asked the internet, does anybody have a hymnal? And I never heard anything back. And then on a post in a public page in my town, weeks after posting it, someone finally commented and said, I do have one if you'd like it. So I was just thrilled to get it. So here I am. This is an old, I think it's Mango Melody stamp pad that is dried up and it's bad. I have a newer one. And I actually added the brown, and I added the Mango Melody and a little bit of, I think, orange, like pumpkin pie. And I mixed them all together to put on top of that hymnal page. This was really scary because that paper is really thin. It's not quite Bible page, but it is still very thin. So here I am trying to add some brown to it. I wet the page, and I even move around the ink with a paintbrush just to get that distressed look. So here I am spraying it. And then I think I actually, on camera, yeah, I bring out my paintbrush just to move the ink around a little bit. And it was like, oh, please don't let me ruin this. I literally prayed over this piece of paper before I started. I cut that out of the video. You didn't need to see that. But yeah, I was just like, I really knew what I wanted in my mind, but I really didn't want to mess it up either. So here's me just moving around the ink on um, on the page. I paint with my ink pads all the time from the top of my ink pad like that. So if it can be done, see, I end up making this into this um, small itty bitty ball as I crunched it up, and then trying to get it to open and not tear it was a little nerve wracking, but it worked out fine. So I'm just gonna tediously unravel this thing, and you'll see it turned out lovely. It's like the perfect color and texture, and I just absolutely loved it. But then, see, look how pretty that turned out. I'm so sad that I didn't get it up in front of the camera. Now here, watch this. I'm like hesitating. Like, do I want to do this? I'm trying to decide if I want to commit. So I did want to tear the page, um, and because of it being so thin, I mean, it was tearing super easy. But what I had done, and I left this in here because I wanted to laugh at myself with all of you, I had cut um, the page so close to the bottom of the music that I couldn't tear it without destroying the music. So I painstakingly took my tweezers and tore the very bottom of this music so it looked perfectly torn. But I couldn't grab it with my fingernails or my fingers because it was just the smallest piece of paper down there. And I didn't want to destroy the music. So I left a little bit of it in there so you could see what I had done just to get to the bottom of the bar of music. So I think it turned out really good. Um, and here I am just adding a little more, just what was left over on that sponge dauber. I really can't stand the sponge daubers. I don't use them for ink blending at all whatsoever. I only use them for distressing things because it doesn't have to be perfect. So if you are new to stamping and you purchase sponge daubers thinking you could blend with them because they're advertised that way and then you're frustrated, it is not you. It is that they're absolutely terrible. But they're great for doing distress stuff that doesn't need even texture. So there are the two together. I just literally went down the center of the page, leaving the top and sides and bottom free, and just glued it down to that other distressed piece of paper, and it just turned out so pretty. So I won't go through all of this on camera with you as I tediously try to fit together the, I glue the flowers together and I try to figure out, okay, where do I want the branches and the leaves. That took a little bit of, yeah, it was just took a little bit to get it together, to see what I wanted. But that I did, once I fit them all together, I just left them where I wanted them and then glued them down, which I did show that process in here. You'll see that. So here I am just trying to get the branches where I want them. And I did use my tweezers a lot to place everything. Now that I'm working part-time at night, I'm doing a lot of cleaning, and I'm losing my fingernails on my right hand. You can see that. So I have to use the tweezers to place things. And so here you can see I put everything where I wanted. I just peeled back up the music, and I got my Barely Art glue. And I think I mentioned this in every single one of my videos now. I am not affiliated with them, but I absolutely love this glue. And you see how little I'm using? Like, next to nothing. Here I am waving my hand around trying to find something. I think, what was it I was trying to find? We'll find out here in a second. But that's what I do. I'm like, okay. Oh, my scissors. So I could trim off the end of that little branch that was sticking out. And then I just hold it down. But it doesn't take much glue at all. And I didn't want to put too much glue either because I didn't want it to be bumpy from the front. So Here I am adding more glue, and I even go up underneath there and put a couple bigger little globs of it, but there wasn't that much. And then I trimmed off the end of that branch on that side as well, so it wouldn't show. And just press it back down. And I spared you most of the flower piecing because that was a little painful. That's a part that I don't love at all of doing die cuts, is piecing things together. That is like, oh, I need to start charging more for my cards because this is the most painful part. But then I got everything on there, and I decided I thought black was much more striking than the white backing it. So I went ahead and put it on this black card panel. And it's funny because I had glue already on the back of that. I was like, okay, I'm going to glue this down. And then I just realized I wanted something more dimension. And so I pulled out my my silver thread and kind of stuck it on the back of this thing, the music and everything, and then restuck it back down on the card panel. I realized, oh, I just want one more thing. It needs a little bit of shimmer. I didn't want to put glitter, and I'm all about putting glitter. I wanted it to be much more subtle and reserved for the music. So you'll see that I just end up putting some more glue on the back of this now that it's dried. This stuff dries super fast, but it holds great, and you don't need very much at all. I've had this glue for like 3-4 months now, and there's almost none out of that bottle, and I have a whole refill too. I've told several people I think I probably have a year's worth of glue, which is awesome. But anyway, so here I am. Now I'm going to press it down and trim off my little tail here. But isn't that striking against the black? It is so beautiful. And I've got little bits of glue on me, and so I keep rubbing my fingers together, trying to get the glue off my fingers. But look how pretty that is. I just think it turned out lovely. And I hope to be able to duplicate this. I have an entire hymnal now, so I plan on definitely doing several more cards like this. The hardest part was actually picking a song, and this was literally the after prayer hymn, so it was only this one bar, and it fit perfect on this card. I just like when you get something done and you're like, it's absolutely perfect. Isn't that gorgeous? I just absolutely love that. I hope seeing me put this together really helped you to see that the process is very fluid. We all have to just kind of give into it and try things, because sometimes it does get a little nerve-wracking when you're doing something and you're afraid you're going to mess it up. I know that a lot of people new to card making they don't want to mess it up. But I think we don't. What we do is we just create. So it becomes what it's supposed to be. I often, this one came out exactly how I had pictured it, but I often will take something and I'll make it and I go, this isn't what I wanted it to be. And then I'll put it off to the side and realize that it is exactly what it wanted to be. I just didn't realize what it was. And I'll take it a week or two later and make it into something and add it where it needed to be and that type of thing. It happens often. So art is alive, and it knows what it needs to be, and sometimes we just don't even realize it. So here is that finished card. I stood it up like that so you can see the dimension and how much it popped out. It's so beautiful. I absolutely love it. And this actually, I'm keeping it. It's actually going to get framed along with about 4 others that I just refuse to get rid of. And I think we're allowed to do that when we create something that we just can't part with. Well, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. You can find more of the Simplified Stamper on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest.